South of the border, the U.S. Supreme Court has agreed to hear arguments on Donald Trump's global tariffs. The American president is asking the top court to overturn a lower court ruling that most of his tariffs are illegal, including his Liberation Day levies and fentanyl-related tariffs. The court will hear arguments in November, but the tariffs will stay in place until a ruling. And let's bring in CTV News U.S. political analyst Eric Ham. Eric, thanks as always for joining us.
It's good to be with you. Thanks, Roger.
What can we expect? Actually, let's just talk about what can we expect leading up to this courthouse hearing?
Well, this is, again, the president going through these emergency proceedings, and the court took this case up really, really fast. And we have to recognize that Donald Trump is on a massive win streak with these emergency docket cases going before the Supreme Court. In fact, he's won 17 of 23, and we know one is still pending. And a ruling just came down recently. So if this case is any indication of what we can expect in terms of success or failure, the president has a very good chance of actually getting a verdict in his favor in this case. And to be clear, if you compare what Donald Trump has done going through emergency dockets to get the case to take these cases up quickly versus, say, what the last administration did, Donald Trump has brought more emergency docket cases than the Biden administration did in the entire 4 years. Donald Trump has brought more in the first 7 months in office than the Biden administration did in 4 years, and already he's notched a massive win streak.
And with a conservative leaning court, what do you think the odds are here?
There's a very good chance, at least based on what we're seeing from these 17 cases that Donald Trump has won already, that the court will likely rule in his favor and overturn a lower court ruling that these tariffs are, in fact, justifiable and will be allowed to keep in place. Now, we know that the court that recently ruled actually gave Donald Trump time. So this case does not, that ruling doesn't go into effect because it gave him time to actually go to appeal that ruling before the Supreme Court, which, of course, the White House has done, and now the Supreme Court will take this up. Now, already we are seeing friction from lower courts based on the Supreme Court taking up these emergency docket cases, because in those particular cases, they don't necessarily have to actually give any type of reasoning or rationale as to why they ruled the way they have done. And so what we're seeing now is a bit of friction between the Supreme Court and many of the lower courts that are now left with many of these rulings by these lower courts overturned.
Now, if this does go Trump's way, how much will this embolden him, do you think?
Well, already we know that the president has moved to implement tariffs worldwide. And of course, if in fact he does lose, there is the possibility, quite frankly, that much of the revenue that the government has taken in will have to be refunded. And so that's something that certainly I think is likely to be argued in court. But what we're seeing right now is Donald Trump has already pushed the bounds that many believe other presidents, quite frankly, did not think they had in terms of executive authority. And so what we're seeing right now is a conservative court that is moving lockstep with the president and giving him enormous powers.
Okay. Eric, thanks as always for your insight.
Thank you.
CTV News U.S. political analyst Eric Ham.